Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's a pleasure to join the debate today on the Finance Bill number 3 and related motions approved by the House to debate as one. Madam Speaker, I've listened attentively and intently to contributions of colleagues on both sides on these very important issues that touch and concern our governance, our public policy framework, our revenue policy, and our attempt to grapple with the challenges of our time, economic challenges, and as the last speaker passionately reminded us, our social challenges as well. And having heard my colleagues and having taken some notes, and I must say, Madam Speaker, I do have notes from all the speakers before me, I would take the opportunity to respond to some of the issues raised by colleagues and then to go into a couple issues myself related to the various motions and the bill. Madam Speaker, we are where we are, and the government has sought to alert the country as to the changing reality that the country faces. The colleague from Dabdi Omera spoke, I believe, with some colorful language, and my colleague from Davide Omera appears much more relaxed today than he has ever been, and alerted us to some of the, well, my good friend from Lavantil West want to engage me already, but I'll not fall for that. Davide Omera alerted us to some of the challenges that the country faces in terms of our culture, our economic behavior patterns over the years, that the member, and I suspect his government, believe has led to a situation where the country has to adjust and some sort of reality has to set in. The member spoke of the notion of tabanca, I think he did. And I want to congratulate him on adjusting very quickly to life after cabinet and really giving a good presentation. And the very honorable member for Lavantil West, Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines, also is adjusting to his new ministry, which I'm sure we'll do. But I'll come back to that later. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance, in piloting these measures earlier today, spoke to the importance of revenue collection and the strategies of the government, and reminded us that at his first finance bill presentation, the appropriation bill, he had hinted on some of these matters. And indeed, in the mid-year review and later, brought legislative amendments to effect his policy pronouncements. Madam Speaker, while one cannot disagree with the last member from Tobago East, one cannot disagree too much with her analysis and the research, clearly, the research. One has to be very cautious about engaging in revenue policy in this manner. The member for Port of Spain North also spoke to this issue, and Madam Speaker, the member for Port of Spain North spoke about the sad situation that they found the country in, the problem with revenue, the matters in the energy sector, what good work that they had done in 1 year to stabilize that sector to put new programs and policy in that sector and to go beyond what he claimed was the work done by the former administration. It is only regrettable that having done such a good job in the Ministry of Energy, the member for Labre was summarily dismissed. After such a wonderful contribution in 1 year. Because I want to also speak to the energy policy issues, where I believe these are the key revenue levers that the government should be looking at. Madam Speaker, there is a risk with taxation in this way, as the member for Tegomate Northeast proposes. I remember, Madam Speaker, as a child, you're going to school, the finance minister was George Michael Chambers, Prime Minister as well. And when budget day came around, you will have lines and lines of motorcars by the gas station. You would have a sort of anxiety in the national population. And the former Prime Minister, who himself was known as a smoker, and you know, carried about that habit publicly, you would have the taxation on these tobacco and alcohol products. And the member for Tobago East would be aware with her expansive research capacity that in the year 1 economics course at UE, I think is EC 101. EC 101. At some time we did use a book called Richard Lipsey, Introduction to Economics. I think it's still being used by some people now. And it spoke, Madam Speaker, to elasticity of demand. And there are some products with an elasticity of demand where if you change the taxation measures on it, you increase taxes, the demand would more or less be the same. The classic example of that is always banana, I believe. But banana has gone now out of the way in so many ways as a mainstay industry. And today, one also reflects on tobacco products and alcohol as having an elasticity of demand. That if you tax, there's no assurance that sale and consumption goes down. The member for St. Anne's East, I think, spoke earlier as well. And it was a very interesting conversation that was taking place, Madam Speaker, between the member for St. Anne's East and the Minister of Finance. Because the Minister of Finance advances the argument that he is here to raise revenue by introducing a tax on alcohol and tobacco. And unless I'm mistaken, the Minister of Finance gave some figure as to how much millions of dollars he would gain by that. And if that is so, then it is clearly, if you want to raise revenue by taxing tobacco and alcohol, you would like people to buy those products. That's how you will raise the revenue. So what is the policy objective? Is it to raise revenue, or is it to deal with the social side of alcohol and consumption? Is it that? Also, the matter also arose, which is another matter before us, of this online tax. And the member for St. Anne's East gave again, a holistic argument. And she said that, you know, she understands well online shopping, probably less so than the member for Dabudi O'Meara, who alerted us that he bought his balls online to play golf. And he told us all about that experience he has shopping online, because I imagine he's an avid golfer. And apart from balls, you'll have other accessories, I'm sure. Shirts and pants and so on that he would purchase online. But the problem here is the policy contradiction, in that the members are telling us on the one hand, this measure is for you to buy local. Is that we don't shop online, use foreign exchange as the case may be, and buy your golf shirt from a nice USA golf shop online through Amazon. You will get your golf shirt and pants, you'll get your balls, clubs and so on. And you will buy that online. But one member is telling us that this is to promote local, buy local. The next member is telling us this is to get money, so buy more foreign. Buy more foreign. I will come to marijuana and joints and so on in a little while, because the member spoke about weed. So I wanted to come to that love until West in a little while. Don't preempt me. So I would, Madam Speaker, please. I know he's excited when he hears these things. Madam Speaker, so the policy contradiction is what is the objective? Is the objective to get more money, M-O-N-E-Y, then alert people that they should spend more? Because the only way you will get your hundreds of millions of dollars is if people smoke more, drink more, and shop more online. And if your policy approach is that you want to really deal with the social problems associated with smoking, drinking, look, I agree with you. This is a society, even in my own constituency, my own area, we are not unknown for the consumption of beverages and so on. Those things are related to colonial society, colonial plantation systems, where people work in the plantation system, factory system. When they finish a hard day's work, they go to the rum shop, they have a couple, then they go home because that helps their appetite, and they eat. And then sometime in going to work, it helps you to cope with the stress and the strain of the manager, the boss, and so on. There's a history of that. There's an industrial culture and issue to that. Yeah. And those are social problems, we know. But you cannot say you are introducing a tax to deal with the social problems because of the elasticity of demand. And might I say one time, I am not targeting factory workers and, lower income workers and saying that they're stressed out. Madam Speaker, it's common knowledge that a mayor the other day was stressed out. It was the last statutory meeting, and I understand they were stressed. And I think he was charged. And then he was charged again. So
you wanted to deal with the price.
Yeah, so that
the price rise.
So that the point I'm making is that this is not a matter that affects only lower income working people, factory workers and so on. We have had this situation in the country where people at different levels would abuse, as the case may be. So get the objective right, because I don't think both objectives could be I don't think they could be in unanimity. I don't think you could put both together. I think there's a conflict in policy. And it was reflected itself in the presentations as well. You didn't know what they were really angling at, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of course, the member for Port of Spain North would not easily resist the temptation on a regular basis to accuse the former administration.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 15.5, I beg to move that the House continue to sit until we complete the business before it today, please.
Honourable members, the question is that the House continue to sit until it completes the business before it. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much, ma'am. My colleagues were just asking me if something is wrong with me because of my... Subdued. Yes, well, I have the full attention of my colleagues opposite, so I can be like this. So, Madam Speaker, the member for Port of Spain North is not one to resist the temptation on a regular basis to attack the former administration on waste and what he calls the corruption and mismanagement and so on. And pointed out, Madam Speaker, I took note of pointing out the use of the business people today who are so named, business persons and contractors and so on. And then the member for Dabadi O'Meara, Madam Speaker, shockingly spoke about 15% minister or former official, and there was a rumor of 15% and so on. I was most shocked about that. You see, Madam Speaker, it is a tone in the debate now for the member of Port of Spain North, whenever he speaks, and whatever the issue before us, to speak about this matter of owing contractors and how much money contractors made, and linking contractors, as he did today, to the former administration. I would like to ask the member, with great respect, to cut it out, to really cut it out. Because apart from, he can't be so young at this time. We've been here 1 year, you know. Because, I wonder if the member for Port of Spain North might be aware and following a story right now where a businessman is being sought for $2 million in this country. And the further issue that arose, I heard, is that the businessman in some way is linked to the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago and a minister of this country.
What?
Now, that is not a matter I wish to get into. I will move on immediately. But that is not a UNC financier. That's not UNC. If it was a UNC financier, they'd have fined him already and expose him.
Please to the matter that's before us. Please.
Well, Madam Speaker, thank you. But then, Madam Speaker, I will not further quote the member for Port of Spain North, because if I quote him again, I will have to go back to that issue. So I will move on, Madam Speaker, to the other substantive matter. Now, Madam Speaker, the online matter left another question hanging with this taxation online. Is that apart from the policy contradiction, is really the management of this matter. The Minister of Finance tells the country today, the Minister of Finance tells the country that this is a tax in its infant stage. Embryonic, if that's the term. So it's not infant yet. Okay. It's embryonic. No. Had the member for Caroni East not vacated the chamber, he would have explained that for us, the embryonic and the infant. So the Minister of Finance, alerted the country today that this tax is in its embryonic stage. That is a very dangerous position to take. It suggests that the government and the Minister of Finance have not properly thought out this matter, the implications and consequences of this tax. So that to tell us that someone bringing a barrel of clothes from New York on a plane, that will go through customs, and the customs will exercise their discretion to see whether it's 1 pair of trousers or 20 pair of trousers and tax accordingly. And someone else bringing in a suitcase can say, well, they are involved in you are involved in buying materials and so on for sale and you tax. And then you have the matter of online. It has been raised in the national community. When you purchase certain goods online, you bring it into the country, it is for personal use, yes, it may be for medical use as well. Are there exemptions to this? If you go online, I am asking the question because the national community asks. Madam Speaker, when we meet our constituents every week, wherever we meet them in the health center, the office, they ask questions because they read or they hear the news and they want to know. If, for example, you bring in some piece of equipment to assist you with medical care of one kind or another, right? They put the tax on it because it is a good, it is bought online, and it comes into Trinidad by air. Are you then punishing persons, particularly the elderly, the sick, the infirm, if they may be purchasing anything related to their health care? Not necessarily medical equipment, not necessarily drugs and so on, but health care, which is wider. Then, Madam Speaker, the government, again, you promote healthy lifestyles. You are promoting healthy lifestyle. The member for Diego Martin Central, I saw him riding a stationary bike one day. Then I saw him riding a decorative bike, I think the next day. There was some carnival thing with a bicycle, and it was a Diwali bicycle. It was the first time I saw it. Yeah. Well, the member, I want to assure the member that if he goes on that bicycle, nobody else is getting on that bicycle. So he's my colleague, I can tell him that. And not me at this stage. So, Madam Speaker, we encourage healthy lifestyle on the one hand. We encourage the whole population to run and exercise because we are fighting diabetic condition, heart condition, whatever the condition, we are fighting that. And yet, citizens go online, they decide they are buying health-related equipment, clothing even, and you say, well, you have to pay more tax for that. You have to pay more. Or go locally and buy it. These are the contradictions that you expose yourself to. These are the contradictions that you are going to raise the cost of purchase of equipment, of clothing, of all sort of things, which you are promoting which you are promoting as government policy and then charging more for? And those are serious questions. Those are serious questions. Just recently, I believe, Madam Speaker, I think I was taxed as well at this online tax. I ordered, I think, 2 or 3 gym
Not golf.
apparel. No. I leave the golf to Dabadi O'Mara. No. I don't even think of that. So I ordered something, and then it came, and I understand there was a $50 tax or something on it more. And this attitude that we are picking up from the government is a dangerous attitude. Today, several speakers made reference to something. Several. It was led off by Port of Spain North. He was a key flagship bearer on this matter. When we are doing comparative studies of other countries to tell us we must suffer more, because Canada has more, Barbados have more. If you go for a drink in Grenada, it's $50, while the same drink in Trinidad is $25. We are now comparing ourselves to every country in the world that we could find where it is more expensive to say Trinidad and Tobago, you could suffer more. And it came across in a very potent statement from the Minister of Finance when he said that I raised the gas price once, twice, 3 times, and didn't riot yet.
And he will raise it next year.
And he will raise it April next year. And, Madam Speaker, but the Minister of Finance will know that there were payments made and so on to people. Apparently they riot. They got payments. So it is dangerous to push this country to the edge by suggesting that you did not riot. Gas gone up, you didn't riot. We do it once, twice, 3 times. But it's not the gas alone. That's just a symptom of a deeper analytical condition. And that condition is that persons have an absorptive capacity for sufferation, as the leader of the opposition like to put it, so that you can push people more and more and more. And I met someone the other day and they told me, they said they could not believe that in 1 year this government will be so unpopular in 1 year. Normally your unpopularity index reaches somewhere in the 3rd year and the 4th year, you're unpopular. But after 1 year, because the citizens are seeing this type of, it's a narcotic of arrogance that we are seeing across the board. It began with we in charge now, and then it come down the road to 0, 0, 0, and they didn't riot yet.
Yeah.
And with these taxation on these matters, Madam Speaker, online shopping, tobacco, alcohol, gone, and a personal income tax now, and a corporate tax, you are also pushing those sectors as well. Not just the ordinary man and woman. You are pushing the other part of the society. That part of the society that you want to create jobs. So you are saying, and we are here today to debate that, Madam Speaker, that you are increasing corporate tax or the tax on profit over $1 million. That's it. The taxes on profit over $1 million and taxes on income, I believe, over $1 million per year. That's the purpose we are here for. Huh? And you are going to, in that way, punish the businesses that make that, and you expect the same people to hire more people in a time of unemployment. When the government should be given a tax break for creating jobs, they are giving an incentive for job loss. And again, what say you? How can you balance that you are going to increase taxes to companies? You are the member for San Fernando East, leading a difficult sector, is encouraging the private sector to get involved in construction of homes. But that same private sector that he's encouraging, every day I see him, he's begging every private sector in the place, I beg you, build house for us, please, join us, we don't have money. And that same group of companies that he's appealing to, and I believe sincerely appealing to, he announced with fanfare, I think recently, a PPP project. And in due course, we will ask the details of those projects.
What are the costs
And the
of
process we will do, but not tonight. We're not concerned with those details tonight. In due course, we will speak to that. But his intention is to ask the private sector to build homes. And when he goes to the private sector and say, listen, Mr. X, Y, and Z, and in this case, Mr. NH, I believe it is, please build some homes for us. We don't have money. he's telling them, but I want to tell you, my Minister of Finance has just increased the taxation on your profits per year. How is that going to work?
Tax break.
Who are you? No, but those tax breaks are there already. You already have an incentive, and you are creating a disincentive now. You are creating a disincentive. And I want to remind the Minister of Housing that this is not the first PPP project, so don't say that and let somebody contradict you and laugh at you. Oh. The PPP project was started in San Fernando with Republic Bank under the last administration for construction. Oh, your administration's first one, first PPP. It's $145 million, I believe it is. So, no, it's fine. But coming back to the point of the disincentive to firms with over the 1 million. And then you say, well, everybody paying the price and paying the burden. But if you don't have employers, you cannot have employees. Okay, you find people who are making $1 million more, 1 million in income per year. Now, I was shocked today that the Minister of Finance announced, and I took notes, of course, I took notes. The Minister of Finance is announcing that he is going to be getting tens of millions of dollars predicted from the taxation on individuals. And then jump and said we are getting between $500 to $700 million from the companies that make $1 million more. That I can imagine, but not on the individuals. Who are these individuals? As the labor force reports of the CSO will describe, the CSO labor market documents will tell you the stratification of every single occupation and professional layer in the economy, in the labor market, so to speak. That would tell you. When you look at that, it is a narrow band of professional people who will be earning in excess of what the CSO will put to be $45,000. So we didn't reach $1 million yet. It's $45,000, as the case may be. And if you say you make $40,000 a month, I imagine that is after tax. That is after 10 months, 400,000 is 480,000 per year, but it's not $1 million. And the CSO will not have data. There's no bracket in the CSO that says professional people, $1 million plus. So you have to calculate that yourself. Many of those people, labor market analysts will tell you, are self-employed people, are people who are not declared by an employer. For example, if you lecture at the University of the USA, I believe my friend from Moruga Tableland was a distinguished lecturer. He can't find his way to the cabinet room yet. I think a checker beat him to it recently. But he was a distinguished lecturer and so on. He would know. At the University of the West Indies, your employer declares your income. When you're in cabinet, incidentally, your employer declares your income. The other members from Labrie and W. took a vicious pay cut recently. But at the cabinet level, they declare your income and you pay your taxation. But at the University of the West Indies, the UE declares your income. When you're into private work now as a PhD or as a lawyer, a doctor, specialized, you declare your own income. And the member for Port of Spain North told us today that he went to school. And when he went to school, he said a long time ago, at Notting Hill or Nottingham or somewhere there. They're known for the carnival there, I think. When he went to school, he learned about tax avoidance and tax evasion.
Yes.
Today, the government has a particular interest, which they should have, on dealing with tax dodging. That's what it is, really. Tax dodging. People who dodge. People who, Americans say tax dodging, we say tax evasion and so on. But the member was very clear from Port of Spain North to tell us that's not tax evasion, is not tax avoidance. He was very clear on that. He learned that in school. He told us that. And the persons that they are targeting to raise money from this are persons who deal in tax avoidance. And they create...
Remember, for Oropouche East, your 30 minutes are up. You're entitled to 15 more minutes. Do you intend to avail yourself of it?
Yes.
Please continue.
Yes. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the point I was making is that the persons who will be receiving income at that level are persons who themselves have professional help by way of accountants, lawyers, and so on, and will easily declare themselves at $300,000, $400,000, $700,000 a year, And the rest will be through the company, car, expense, this, that, the other. They will do that. And very few people you will be able to trap with that $1 million. So I was shocked to hear about this, what 70 million or 100 million that you intend to get from that. And we will file the requisite question after 1 year to find out how much money you raise from doing this. Because the government will announce with fanfare that they will project this, they will project that. And at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, you are not sure that you're getting a penny from some of these measures. You're not sure. So Madam Speaker, that corporation tax has built-in disincentive. And telling us about corporation tax in America and Canada and all of that is irrelevant. When you sit down in a patio having that bottle of wine that the Minister of Finance described earlier, when you sit down in a nice patio in Toronto and so on, you don't be too scared that people come behind you with a machine gun and fire into the crowd and shoot and kill everybody. You don't be scared. Madam Speaker, in my own constituency, gentleman was at a bar, they robbed the place, took cell phones, wallet, money, everything. And leaving, fire one shot, hit one man, kill one man. That is Trinidad and Tobago. And they compare with Canada, with America, they have bigger taxes. So if you find a country with 70% taxation, we should do that too. We should do that too. Then they come to the individual. They come to the individual where I don't think they will get that kind of money. So, Madam Speaker, their revenue collection leaves a lot to be desired. And in terms of the reality, because in Trinidad and Tobago today, and we did have, Madam Speaker, we did have a scare recently over this bond issue. After the latest development, I'm almost scared to say the word bond. But we did have an issue with the EFCL bond issue, where I think high-level intervention was needed, Madam Speaker, to sort that out, because that would have created a crisis of confidence and integrity. Madam Speaker, the government attempt to deal also with the housing sector is covered here as regulations applicable to types of bonds, and I'm quoting. We have government saving bonds regulations, government saving bonds, national tax-free saving bonds regulations, and tax-free housing bonds regulations as part of this menu of revenue-making measures. And that is what they come to. So could I speak for a moment on this tax for the housing, the tax-free housing bonds matter? They have sought and tried their best, Madam Speaker. And in this debate, incidentally, I took note of the member for Dabadi Omera speaking, Madam Speaker, I don't know if you were in the House at that time to hear him, but about the last government dismantling the intelligence arrangement in the country. Now, I didn't know where that dropped from. I would have loved to respond to that, but I'm in mortal fear that if I respond to him, I could be deemed to be irrelevant. So we will leave it that his presentation was irrelevant, and I would not try to be responding to an irrelevant presentation. The tax-free housing bonds regulation. Now, again, what is the policy objective? What is the policy objective? It is to raise money to build house. It is to raise money to buy house. It is to generate economic activity, because all the measures here is to raise money and generate economic activity. There's a social dimension. Well, it is supposedly to do that. It will not do it. The member for Naparima gave us a typically passionate and charismatic dissertation on Eric Williams and Massa De Done.
Massa De Done.
I was particularly pleased that he chose to quote Dr. Eric Williams, because when we heard the statement recently, I thought Massa De not done. So the housing sector will not benefit from this measure hardly, because they are going about it on the wrong foot. Madam Speaker, on another occasion, I will speak about a conflict of interest in the housing sector over the administration and assessment of that first PPP project. Individuals involved in that project, individuals involved in other parts of the state, and the conflict of interest that exists between an auditing and accounting company in this country, the Ministry of Housing and the Ministry of Public Utilities. It is a devilish and diabolical circle that I will come to on another occasion. So, Madam Speaker, the member for Tobago East raised a couple other issues which there's no need to deal with. Also raised the issue of coping and so on, and I think that was related to the drug business and so on. I want to assure the member for Tobago East that we are, although some in the House may not sound as passionate as you, we are very passionate. We are very committed to being role models for children. And we are very committed to passing good law, approving good policy in the interest of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because someone without my experience may accuse you of just being self-righteous. But I understand your deep concern and enthusiasm and passion. I understand that. I understand that very well. But not because people may not sound like you, don't mean we don't have your great interest in these matters. Madam Speaker, in closing, I want to take the opportunity as well to remind the population that these measures that we have before us, particularly these tax measures, will not bring relief to sections of the population in need. Because I can ask the Minister of Finance, when he raises this $500 million on the corporation tax, when he raises the $200 million on the private tax, the personal tax, when you raise X amount of millions of dollars from tobacco sale and alcohol sale, where will that go? Is the minister prepared to tell us where he will spend that money? Because it's one thing to ask us to come here to approve revenue-raising measures. But you must also level with the population and the parliament and tell us what are you going to put that to? Because today we do not know what you did with the heritage and stabilization billions of dollars that you took. Today we don't know what you did with the millions you got from the increase in the green levy, from the unemployment relief, unemployment levy. The millions of dollars you got from raising the price of gas. Not once, as you reminded us, 3 times. What did you do with the millions of dollars? Because we are in a position now where we might be strongly considering to support you tonight on these corporation tax, income tax, tobacco, sale tax. And I took note of the classification of wines that he spoke about earlier. I was alerted to that because he's a gentleman well-traveled and will well be aware of the finer things in life. You know, I'm sure you serve that on the yacht when you cruise around the islands.
You drink box.
I'm sure you don't drink box wine on the yacht. So what will you use this revenue that you are asking us to vote for? What will you use it for? Will you use it to buy more Casabon painting? Will you use it for Soca on the Seas? Will you use it to give CPEP to pay legal fees for suing me? They sue me, injunct me from talking, and then took my taxation, Madam Speaker. This extra tax they will charge, they take my taxation to pay for suing me. It is amazing. Will you use that to put newspaper ads? $45,000 you are going to raise millions of dollars from tobacco sale and alcohol sale. I am asking whether any portion of that will go for newspaper ads. Over the weekend, a story break. They reported a story in the newspaper. The HDC put out a full-page paid ad to say something that they could have said in a press release, to say something that the member for San Fernando East could have come to the parliament and correct the record. You're talking about FATCA. Last night, FATCA, whatever car you want to think. You think anybody interested in you and FATCA again? It was trumped last night. So we had the vision when they came here and told the country the sky would fall. We had the vision to tell them, hold up. But I'm coming back to the use of this revenue from tobacco and alcohol. That's what I'm coming back to. I'm very concerned with that because I am convinced that that will do nothing to reduce the sale of tobacco and the sale of alcohol. In fact, it might increase. I am asking Minister of Finance, will you be using that to pay for newspaper ads and wasting money of the taxpayer to put an ad in the paper that a press release, a press conference, or a statement by the minister can answer? That is also a form of waste, and waste is a form of corruption and mismanagement. That is what we are asking the minister to tell us. So, Madam Speaker, the issue is not a simple issue of the moral, social and moral dimension of the taxation. It is an issue of revenue policy. It is an issue of your collection capacity. When we recall that who is collecting this revenue? Who is going to collect this tax? Is it not the BIR? I think rat infested the office and they're gone home. I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if the rats left and the workers came back. I don't know.
He cut allocation and health and safety.
And they cut allocation. Madam Speaker, one more issue I want to pick up that was raised today. I believe it is the member for Port of Spain North again. And every time the member for Port of Spain North, he falls into this default position of attacking the last government on mismanagement and this, and declared today at the top of his voice, he declared his administration saved $11 billion, and then started to beat his chest. And when we had a recent finance committee meeting, all I think of 5 days, long evenings, several questions were posed, and I respond to this matter raised only today. When we look at the spending of the former Minister of Works and Transport, as he then was member for Laventille West, he then was. When we look at the spending in public utilities, we looked at the spending in housing. Millions upon millions of dollars were not spent because of incompetence. They could not spend it to execute their program. In the Ministry of Health, there is data that will become available. The Minister of Finance has it already, but the country will get it by January next year. I'm familiar with these things. There's an IDF report on their spending in the IDF, and there's a PSIP report on their spending in the PSIP. By now, the technical people would know that spending until, let's say, July. By the time January comes along, you will get the end of the year, and we will be able to look at every single ministry on their project spending, not paying wage and salary and vacation and so on, you know. That deduct those things. We will look at every ministry, and you will see where this $11 billion were not spent because they could not undertake the projects, they could not deliver, they could not perform. So there's a rapid announcement of 62 bridges, $600 and something million. The new Minister of Works run in the bush to see bridges wearing a jacket and tie. Bridges we started that they could not finish.
They said they were auditing.
They were auditing.
Yeah.
They spent 1 year auditing, reviewing, revising. Could not finish the bridges. Now they have to go back and beg the contractors to finish the same bridges that we start.
No wrong.
But I come back to the point made today. The point made in this house today, this bold assertion of we saved $11 billion. That is the cause of incompetence of not completing your projects. Not completing projects on time. That is the cause of incompetence.
Standing Order 48-1, please.
I overrule, member. I'll give you some leeway. Please continue.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, but I'll move away from that because that was an issue raised earlier today in the presentation of the member for Port of Spain North and St. Anne's West, I think, on that matter. Madam Speaker, the rationale for these essential elements of all the proposals today, they come with a rationale, and part of it is not just tax collection or revenue collection, but they speak today as well of reducing the leakage of taxation.
Has expired.
On an